The other day I was browsing through Twitter and someone sent me a really interesting sand piston door where the sand dropped down the bottom of the door and then got moved back up to the top using piston tapes. I thought it was pretty sweet. So I then took that concept and started messing around with a few bits in Minecraft 1.13 in my Redstone testing world because I thought I'd see if I could bring this into the future a little bit and instead of using piston tapes, make use of soul sand and water. And I think I've managed to come up with a working idea here. So if I hit this button, you can see that the sand shoots up to the top, and then when I power this piston, I can transport things like sand and other falling entities through these water streams, that's pretty sweet. So I'm going to try my best to create a really interesting looking piston door here, and I think this could end up looking pretty spectacular. Now the question is, where do I build this thing? Don't want to be too near the sheep. This place is getting a little bit ugly. It's difficult. Now I feel like it's worth mentioning that this definitely isn't going to be particularly fast. In fact, it's probably going to be one of the slowest piston doors, but this is the template. So we've got two water streams on either side, then we've got the pistons which are going to be pushing across the sand blocks to actually close up our door, and we're going to have a hole in the middle where all of the sand is going to drop through so that the door can open, so then it can be closed again with the sand traveling up through these water streams. So now I guess I've probably got to start working out some redstone, and I have no clue how I'm actually going to do the whole push across system. Okay, let's start things off with the simple bit, which is the opening. Yep, that seems about right. Okay, so that's dropping through all of our items. Now it's the tricky business of getting them back to the top. See, now I thought there was potential for me actually using more water streams in this by having the sand as an entity like that, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Yeah, I can't do anything to push these guys. That's such a shame. Now, I think I might have managed to come up with a piston layout that is actually going to work for this thing. So when all of our sand drops down into this area here, this piston will push across and it will begin to feed through. And these pistons will also be trying to fire, but they won't be able to fire while there are still sand blocks in the way here. The only time that these sticky pistons will be able to fire is when all of the sand blocks in this position have been used up, and then these sticky pistons will start grabbing the sand blocks from this side, then they'll be pushed across like this, then be put into this double extender, which will then shoot them up through the water stream and take them across into the actual piston door itself. So it does work in theory, but the issue is that these need immovable objects behind them, but we can't actually have immovable objects behind them because the water streams are here, which means that we're going to have to push the water streams back by one block. Problem is, I like the way that this looks way too much, so I'm going to try my best to do it without the use of movable objects, which of course is going to overcomplicate things massively. I don't know why I do this to myself, I mean really. Things are starting to look a lot bigger right now. If we just give this a test, I think that's staying as an entity. You know, the problem is that if we push it across too quickly, it actually becomes a block and then turns into an entity when it falls, which means that it takes out one of the water sources and then it doesn't get shot up through the tube. So we need to make sure that it's falling as it gets pushed the second time. I actually think that's still too fast. I still think that's too fast. So if we add another tick to this, yeah, that's a little bit more like it. Did you see how it was falling as it was being moved? That's good. I guess there's no time like the present. Let's just give the current system a test. So what we should see is this sand gets pulled across and we should end up with a piece of sand landing down at the bottom there. That looked good on both sides. So, I mean, that is, believe it or not, that's actually most of the system done in terms of the actual piston pushing. I then guess we have to hook up these pistons up at the top so that they push in sync. That could definitely be interesting because I have no clue how long it's going to take for the item or the piece of sand to actually reach the top there. But no, that's kind of like the mathematics done. Oh dear, we have hit a roadblock. And that is the fact that... oh no. Okay, so look. If we just look at this. So if I replace the sand here, everything is timed perfectly. But that piston arm goes right through that, and that's because obviously an entity can't push a block. This has the potential to create something much cooler. We could make them cross over. I need to make sure that it would actually fill up though, so that would do that. Okay, let's do the math here. No! It's not gonna work, because that sand lands there. So it wouldn't work. Oh. But this is interesting. It's gonna take a lot of work to get it to function. But I love this idea of watching the sand just be filled up by a slime block, launching all of the items in place. I think this could end up looking really, really cool, but we are going to have to redo all of the redstone down here, some of the redstone up here, basically start again. I just have to remember that I'm doing this for the greater good. Okay, this is for the better. Now, I've worked out how fast this thing can be. So if we activate this, it is now automated. So you can see it goes up, and all of the sand begins to fill. Now here's the thing, it drops down on that one. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to retract these pistons down by a block so this sand lands up there, because in the middle it actually goes 4 blocks high automatically, and it does the same thing on this layer. And if we don't do that, then we'll end up with the door that looks like this, and that's a bit silly. Alright, test number 1. Alright, that's a good sign. And then we should begin to see the closing beginning as well. That's very good. That's excellent. That's awesome. And that's to be expected because I haven't hooked up the timing circuits yet. But that is fantastic. We're getting some serious repeater lines on this thing. The delays on this are absolutely enormous. Like, look at the... This is just for the first part of the circuit. We've got 3 more massive delays to build in this thing. Come on, please work. I'm fairly certain I've got the timing correct now. Yes, look at that! That was awesome! Oh gosh, I've broken something. I've broken something and I don't know what to do. Thankfully I managed to fix it, and now we're at this point with our door. So I've managed to fill in all of these blocks, and we just have this strip left to go, which means that we just have to fire off the double piston extender after a long delay. So I imagine this is probably going to have to go out and round here, and then it's probably going to have to go around like this, go down underneath here somewhere, and then this is where our double piston extender is going to be going. It's massive. Right, hopefully this works. So there was the first push across. Now these sand blocks are making their way in, and we should see the next set of sand be pushed across correctly. There we go! So there is our piston door. Now all we have to do is shut off the redstone clock, which, you guessed it, requires another absolutely enormous delay. I think I'm going to go out and round this way this time. This is a rather silly looking redstone contraption, which I guess suits the build, because this is a rather silly redstone build, but it is now all fully functioning. So we hit the button and we have got ourselves a perfectly good piston door, and then eventually it begins to close. So here we go, it's loading up. Obviously we have to do the drop down, and then that allows us to make this thing 4 blocks high. And eventually, all of the blocks do make their way back into it. As I say, it's a slow process. A very slow process, in fact. But with that, we are all done and dusted. The redstone system has shut itself off, so we don't get any of those annoying noises anymore. And this thing is functioning perfectly. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is arguably the silliest, most impractical, most stupid redstone door in Minecraft, and I have to say I love it. I kind of want to build one of these on the Hermitcraft server. If I got enough repeaters, I think I might consider it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.